Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer 1745 here with my continuing playthrough of Hearts of Iron 3 with Black Ice 8.6. Okay, well, in between the episodes, done a lot of microing, reattaching headquarters and thingies. So, again, sometime I'll make a special episode just before, I don't know how long it'll be, but, just before going into Barbarossa, which I'll show off the command structure and the units and you can get an idea. You just really don't need to see me micro through all of that. Now, one thing that, as you know, has been bothering the hell out of me has been Bulgaria. If I'm not mistaken, Bulgaria never declared war against Britain or the other Western powers. I'm not sure. I know Finland didn't. Now, Bulgaria did shoot at... I may be mistaken. No, oh, no. Sorry. No, I've got that backwards. And I'm not absolutely sure, but generally speaking, my understanding is Bulgaria didn't declare war against the Soviets. They declared war against the Western powers. That's it. Boy, just getting confused here. So that they came in and, you know, grabbed up territory, some of the territory that they'd had before, just because Romania came into the Axis before Bulgaria could ask for this little zone, which they did do historically. They haven't gotten it. See, it has both cores. But to get this bit of Greece and to get that part of Yugoslavia, they've got to be in the Axis. So I fired one of the events that was in there that would force them into the Axis a bit later, or maybe by now, but it was one design that would have fired once Germany was at war with the Soviets. So I just, you know, but remember, they got this territory, though, before the war with the Soviets. And of course, in the Axis, what does that mean? Signed the Anti-Comintern Pact? Well, the second Anti-Comintern Pact, the one that was reassembled post the... because technically Germany breaks the Anti-Comintern Pact when they signed the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact. So much so, and it's such a technicality, or such a reality, though, in actual practice, with all of its and all of its allies, really, it doesn't really affect things too much. Now, we talked earlier about Finland's sort of status up here. That sort of does affect Finland, and that's why I think Finland, you know, were they in the Axis? They wouldn't invade Soviet territory that Finland didn't previously occupy. You know, so they didn't do anything against the Western allies. I know the Finns were upset that Germany supported taking the Baltic states. They were in a hard place, so it may have affected some of that stuff, some of the realpolitik of getting this, but for the most part of all of my readings, Japan wasn't upset that, you know, Germany and the Soviet Union did the Molotov Pact. Romania might have been upset, but got to remember, Romania was a former enemy of Germany. They were World War I Western ally. It was really the rock and the hard place of Soviet Union demanding this territory and them giving it up, and knowing that the Soviets would have wanted to demand more, that pushed them into alliance with Hitler, even though they got their country carved up. So, you know, but it was enough that they reassigned it, and so Denmark, I do believe totally voluntarily, signs the Anti-Comintern Pact. But, you know, what does that matter? And some of the other powers have. And if you go by that standard, the Axis should be forming, you know, much, much earlier, getting Japan in it and other things. So being in the Axis is sort of a nebulous term to me, sort of a game mechanic term here, you know. So give them a big chunk of Yugoslavia and a bit of Greece, you're in the Axis. So that's why I justify manually firing the event. And as soon as I did that, a decision popped up here. Study for level 5 HQ is finished. Well, it's been finished for a while, but because it's, and I've been sort of wanting this to happen, is you get the sort of Southern Marine or Naval, or whatever you want to call it, commands, the Marine Commandos. So we get that. So I wanted to show that off here. So we have, and because see that's stationed here in Sofia. So let's give him an officer. Naval, Legions, no. Clumps. Let's give Boto a blockade runner. And let's attach this. Over Commando to Kriegsmarine, there we go. And down the Greece. Well, let's promote up a him a bit. We'll give him a promotion. So now we have at least the Marine Command expanded down here into the south. And they don't yet have any subordinate commands. I don't know if there's any more. Nope. No more showing up just yet. So I wanted to show that off before we continue. And not that I'm planning, I don't even know if I'm ever going to have Bulgaria declare war against anybody. But as we can already see here, snow's almost gone, good. This is what I've been wanting to happen, is to get these guys off the Bulgarian border. These guys are leaving, probably to walk across back to guard the Swiss border, because I'm pretty damn sure they're going to. Okay. And 1% of ICs, 1,000 supplies. Percent of ICs for how long? February 26th. Ooh, 43. No, thank you. We're gonna save our money. I don't want to do that. Move him away just because they've all been revolting over here and now they're revolting up there. Okay, as soon as you're done combating. These little rebels. Oh well, keep going up there. Yes, that's very much what I want you to do. Get off this border. Okay, lots of stuff. Artillery unit command and control advance. command and control. Direct fire unit command and control. Guess we started all those the same day. And they've lost the war sprite. Put to the British probably. Okay, Panzer Army Africa. During the summer of 1941, the OKW and the OKH allocated more command structures to the African theater by creating a new headquarters called Panzer Army Africa. Panzer Group Africa, sorry. On 15th October, Panzer Group Africa was activated with Rommel in command, and command of the Deutsches Afrika Korps was turned over to Ludwig Krull. The Panzer Group controlled by DAK plus some additional German units were sent to Africa, as well as 2 corps of Italian units. The German group was approximately the equivalent of an army of their other militaries. In fact, Panzer Group Africa redesignated as Panzer Army Africa in January 42. Okay, let's see. So we get Germany African campaign until September. Okay, and we get Panzer Army Africa structure here with Rommel in command. Okay, let's promote you up, put you in charge, and for fun historical reasons, let's put Krull. He wasn't very good. If I'm not mistaken, he either died and fell off of the back of a Kubelwagen, or fell out of the back of a Kubelwagen and died. Don't know which. But there was some, I think, artillery going on at the time, and that could have killed him. And he simply falls out the back of that. And there is a good reason here. Maybe not a great reason, but a good reason to put him down here. In command. The sort of least, looking at the, my opinion, the least important of the command structures for benefits wise is the corps commander. Hold it just a second. Let me go pop something up on the screen so I can look at it while I'm talking. I often have it up when I'm playing, but just didn't at this moment. You won't see it, but it's the graphics from the wiki structure of Hearts of Iron, and it's a really nice graphics. You can go grab it in the wiki under command structure. Something that shows just what each of the command. I'll go over it quickly. Order of battle, trait, and skill. Divisional commanders, you get 100% of the traits, and the skill level increases combat efficiency by 5% per level. So if you have a level 5 commander, that's 25% level of efficiency. Level 1, that's a 5%. So that's sort of important, though you can see how important it is later on. Corps commander, or compared to other things. Corps commander, 50% of the traits trickle down. I do know the green traits, and I think there's only 2 of them. Only 2 of them coming to mind at the moment. This may be sort of late for a tutorial on this, but for all of us, is the Old Guard and the Trickster. They have to be actually in combat for the green traits, and these, not this green, but this sort of dark green. Now, I don't know what determines what trickles down or not, and I don't know if we have any control over that. So I'm not sure whether some of the stuff added by Black Ice trickles down or not. I think it does. But so you get trickle down, you get 50% trickle down on that. So the skill level Oh, and the skill level improves the chance of a reserve division entering combat. Okay, so not exactly, that's all it says. So I'm not exactly how much it improves it, whether it's a 1%, a 5%, a 100%, I don't know. But I've rarely found reasonably good divisional generals in battles. There's several of them, whoever takes overall command. Not, at least for Germany speaking, so reasonably good commanders, mostly 3 and above. Pardon me. Mostly 3 and above, getting everybody into combat. But that's a thing. So corps commanders help that. Now, they don't have to be in combat to do it. They just have to be in command of the units in the combat. And I'm not sure how well that works if there's 2 corps command. I presume it's the general, the commanding upper general of the division, or of the person in command. Presuming that, because you could theoretically have divisions from 2 different corps in the same action, and they could have different levels, but I don't know. So they have the radio radius, but that doesn't matter for Black Ice, because Black Ice is over. They increase that considerably, so I'm not even going to give those things. Army command level, okay. Traits, you only get 25%, but this is one of the main reasons why I do the 5 for every sub-level that I can. My corps are always 5 divisions. Because if you wanted to do the historical, often there's 2 or there's 3 corps, 2 or 3 divisions in a corps, and often with an army there's maybe just a couple of corps below it. I mean, quite often, especially like in Panzer armies or whatever, that's quite often the organization thing. And yes, sometimes it's bigger, especially if we're looking at these sort of levels of command. Sometimes the corps, like I spread out the militia units for some of the organization totes, but if you look at some of the other stuff, like for the wear crests or whatever, they really should be corps level sort of commands, or set up in many more under sub levels. So it does happen. But so army, you get 25% of the traits. So all of the units below that spreads out over all those units. So whether you have, if an army commander, if it just has 2 divisions total for it out there, each division only gets 25 of its traits. But if you have 5 corps, and each corps with 5 divisions, that 25% is very well spread out, and it's each unit gets 25%, not chopping that 25% up. So it's very effective. The traits are very well, so even they're a small percentage, but they're still a significant percentage, and they're spread out over many units. And you also get, and here's the other really important thing, increase organizational level by 1% per skill leader. So if you have a 4 or a 5 skill star, or what do you want to call that, general there, that can be a 4 or 5% increase in the organization of all of the subunits down there at combat level. That's important. Army group, 12.5% of the traits. So yes, that can be spread out over a huge number of units. But now you're really talking just, obviously it's 12.5%, but that's just like sort of 10%. So it's not a huge bonus, because if you're getting a 5% bonus for something, I don't even know if the game is going to calculate 5% combat bonus for well, let's see, offense here, 15%. So jumping that down, you're getting about like a 1.5% or a little bit more. You're getting a no more than a 2% offense bonus spread out. So it's still something, but it's not very much. But here's the big thing, the really big thing: decrease supply consumption by 5% per skill level. So if you were to have a skill level 5 army group commander, that's a 25% decrease in supply consumption. And so that can be a huge, especially if each army group has 5 armies, and each army has 5 corps, and each corps has 5 divisions. That can be a huge decrease in supply. So 4 and 5 really should be because rarely you'll find you can, well, either through some of these super long combats. If any of you watched my very recent previous British series, in which these 3 provinces held out here, I maxed out a bunch of generals, and it was just sort of at the closing of the game, but they were at like 7 or 8 skill level because they were just perpetually in combat. So outside of unusual things like that, normally skills don't go over 4 or 5. But if they do, and if you're move that stuff around, that can drastically reduce massive amounts of supply, especially if you get, like I say, army corps spread out. So those 2, army and army group, in my opinion, are the 2 for the most important. Now, then obviously you got the theater commander. You have very few of those. Least, well, you have a lot of them in Black Ice if you have naval and air force and SS and all these other auxiliary structures, but who cares about them, really? Really, who cares about them? So you can put Himmler in charge of the SS Corps system, but just make sure all of your real combat units are placed under Army command, so his bad generalship doesn't matter. Oh, you're pathetic in combat? Well, all you're doing is fighting partisans, so who cares? That kind of thing. But so theater commanders are very important, are important, but not as important as the other 2. And they get 6 and 1/25% spread out all over. So when you have somebody like a theater commander, the traits, we're just talking the traits. So this is why especially for in combat, why I like brow hitch here. Brow hitch. Double level of quartermaster. So you get the quartermaster, which supply consumption down by 20%, and logistics wizard by another 12%. So that's 32%, then divided by 6, and I'm not good with math, so I'm not going to try it. But I'm pretty sure all of these go down, get down. I know for sure the quartermaster does. Pretty sure that, because it's similar, goes down. And, winter attrition's improved, and all of that stuff, and attack speed. So he here is level 4, so, and what level, and here is sort of, in my opinion, it matters, but to me it doesn't really matter. It matters in the game, but just to me it doesn't matter, is reduce stacking penalty by 1% per leader skill level. So if you were to have a 4 or 5, what's 5% stacking penalty? Well, 1, you shouldn't be overstacking too much, and then I don't quite honestly remember the math on how much the penalty, but so it reduces it by 1%. A useful thing, but not a thing I concern myself with, so we're not going to change him, of course. But that's, so, you can do that. And then we have over here in the west, Hadler. Notice again, he has these double logistic things, so he's keeping down everything. And we maybe switch out a few units here, but all these things here or something. But he's keeping the western garrisons from being too expensive, and he's keeping everything else from being too expensive. And of course, you can attach everything to the single core. Yodel sucks as a commander. Well, he's not maybe stuck so bad. Oh, I'm thinking of Keitel, sorry. But Yodel's not so great, but he does have, and so he's the ersatz. He just has the 20% bonus, but I'm doing that to keep that trait for all of these units, which aren't consuming a lot just sitting here. And they do consume some, I believe. I don't quite know the math, but they can start consuming fuel once they're moving, and they really start consuming supplies once they get into combat. So that becomes more critical. So, that's sort of what I choose to do. And then here, he actually is bad for supply consumption. And I don't know if it trickles down, but his supply consumption is plus 2%. But if that margins out, doesn't matter so much. The SA are sort of supply hogs. Himmler, he is an incompetent general. Well, up here. So, supply consumption plus 10%. I'm still doing it. You can remove him. Though there isn't a whole lot of, well, if you get all the police units, there's quite a bit in there. And Reichsführer SS, you can see some of that. So he's not good for a, well, that's 5% there, so bonus to supply, and there it's 10%. So it's just a plus 5% overall supply consumption, because they obviously equal each other out. So he's 5% worse for supplies. But that's, of course, the final solution's doing its thing. And that's Goering. How bad is Goering for Luftwaffe Command? Well, he has this, and that, if that trickles down, that takes off 15%. And that's up by 5. So it takes off a total of 10% reduced supply consumption. And Raider, well, the German cross, so that is the 15% supply reduction. Oh no, that isn't the, no, it's a different one. So no supply reduction there. But no, so he's a wash, doesn't harm it at all. But so that's sort of the critical thing when you're looking at that. So to me, the corps commanders are the least important for their skill level. Their traits, because it's 50% of them, their traits matter. So let's go, we passed it. I decided, because I know, okay. So he has the War Merit Cross, which reduces supply consumption and speeds up a bunch of stuff, and Panzer Leader, which is combined arms and experience bonus. So we're going to promote him up. So he's not too bad. And so in a way, it's better, in my opinion, to give level 2s to corps commanders and level 3s to divisions. Though often I like to get better and better commanders as you go higher, but still. Now, of course, the other thing I like doing about this of maxing out divisions under corps commander is the more divisions you have under commanders, the more upstream you have of experience going to higher commands and to improve them, because we can see here he is 41% to getting to skill level 5. So, and that's only is affected by units in combat. So if you have a lot of units but they're not in combat, it doesn't help. But so we're doing that. We're keeping him moving forward. Now the question comes, and part of the answer is we've moved out units that are essential for North Africa defense to fight in Southern Africa. I'm thinking we have to some degree enough, and we're going to, well, I don't know. We're going to have a few more units coming, I believe, by events, so we'll see what we'll do with that when the time comes, where they go. But for the moment, we're almost here. And see, he's now level 6. So right now I'm sort of wasting things by not having him command something, but you see all those traits, and if all those traits trickle down in command level 6 of Army, increase skill by or organization by 1%, he's a great Army or Army group commander, and especially Army, because that's a 25%. So if you have lots and lots of traits like he does, those traits spread out, and that's one of the reasons why early on I kept him, because he gained some more traits there, kept him as a division commander to keep him in combat to earn more traits. So you have to look at that as a factor. So do you want to take your shiny new whoever and stick him up early war and stick him up into, you know, super high command, or do you want to put him out in the field so that he earns more traits, and then later stick him to high command? Your judgment call. Okay, Jägerfliegerführer Mitteldeutschland was formed in February 42 to command the Jagdverband fighter units covering daylight defense of the Reich. Why do you have a picture of a night fighter? Okay, 1%. I mean, we're scraping the bottom, in my opinion, without a major war or without major combat operations, down at a little over 300. But 1 isn't bad. So hopefully, what came with that? Just a command unit, I think, mostly for immersion. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well. No, I don't know what we'll do with him. I don't know. Probably should have said no. I can disband him and put some manpower back into the pool. I don't know if we'll ever get that desperate, but we may. Oh, there's some bombing over here. Pause. Okay, major victory here. You're charging in, good. Where did we get bombed? Battle bombed. Okay, so they made for Leipzig. Yeah, we lost our fighters there. Or I mean our anti-aircraft. Don't like that they took the one anti-aircraft down. I get the point of taking down the anti-aircraft that are there and converting them on a limited basis to ground units. And I presume that they did that historically there, but they probably didn't take them all away. I mean, they would have picked somewhere with more. More. Okay, Eastern West. Okay. Okay. Capital ship damage control system has advanced. And grayed out. Okay. And elite commando units advance, so we can allow construction of underground resistance cells if we want. Allows research of air commando brigades, midget submarines, commando training, and commando control. Okay, that's all good. That's down here. So now all these are ungrayed out. Let's for the moment pretend we didn't get these and see what where else I would be putting. Armored HQs, I would do that instead. Okay. And that now makes us flush. Okay, the 25th Panzer Division was formed and sent to Norway, where it remained until August 43 when it was transferred to Denmark, where it took part in the disarming of the Danish army. Yeah, you see, for quite some time the Danish army was allowed to continue to exist. Oh, this time it may. Okay, let's see. Yeah, 11 manpower, Panzer Division. I thought I saw a blip here. Did that mean it happened? Yeah. No. There we go. Oh, it did. Oh, it's up here. Okay. Well, cool. Okay. You can continue to command that. It's a regular Panzer Regiment. Good. Not occupation armor. Yeah, let's see about this Bulgarian operation. Good. We will attach it to Guess the Serbian command. Okay, you're going up there. Now that HQ can actually fight a little bit, at least against partisans. So, and that garrison is... So there we go. And he's there. Who knows, we may send this corps to fight on the Eastern Front or something sometime. Those aren't bad divisions. I know they're of Bulgarian skill types. Not, you know, not a bunch of asymmetric warfare or mountain warfare equipment or anything like that. So they're not as good as mine. But they're at least something, and yes, if you rely on a whole front of those somewhere, you get the Stalingrad problem, like they were relying upon Romanian and Italian troops that were under-equipped, under-trained, poorly led, and spread out way too much to hold too much of the front. But if those units had been combined with German units, it would have been a totally different story. Because they would have helped, not been the primary. Okay, you need to start advancing. Oh, wait a minute. Let's do this. Okay, Deutsches African Court. You're going to... And you're going to... You get the best benefits. And then you can... you can stay on attack. Well, that's because if you come into contact with anybody, your skill will at least trend up to him. So, well, von Thoma, we're sort of stuck here. We've got to get a boat to get him out somewhere. I think I'm going to move him back to for the big show in Europe. Not that he wouldn't be useful, but I don't know if he'd ever catch up. Mentioning that, how are we doing for mud deepens? But we're not there. No. You go over here and pick up von Thoma. That's a decent battle group, but I don't know if I should risk it to go grab my carrier. You need to board. Probably need to send down another police unit or two. Tank destroyers advance. Great. Let's stop that for now. Cancel it. Let's do that. E1, whatever this naval battle thing is. Oh, come on. I'm zoomed out too far, I know. Go hide in port for a little while. What was it? Oh, wow. Oh, this is what it was. Wow, 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 wow. This unit here, this motor patrol boat unit here, picked up a unit over here and was following them, because they can do this. It can these liners here, and has been following them all the way over here. Wow. Well, that tells me something about down here. They didn't bump into anybody too big. So let's. This is where I was rebasing them out of. Because I've been waiting for this. Let's You're way out over there. I'm just going to do it out of the Gretchen land here, as to be our sort of southern naval command, as it were, to keep these things organized. Because we've seen the difficulty in combining the Mediterranean fleets with the North Sea fleet, so that's sort of the reason I like to keep them somewhat separate. Not the subs though, because the subs are all doing their thing. Oh, we need a different commander. No, that's way too far down. Okay. Oh, there it is. Yeah, well, you'll get reorganized. On its way down to here. Okay, spring mud begins. Good. March. Well, we're not going in until at least sometime in April, probably late April at that. Oh, that's sort of why I was holding him here. Stop. Because I knew there was another unit coming for this, I believe. So, I come back here. Old tempo this is, if you've watched the Alt History series on Russia Changes. Oh, there's somebody still up here. Don't know who he was or what he was, air or naval. Not even sure of that. This is a different command. Well, just a second. Yeah, we want to attach him there. I think I was waiting for. Oh. Okay. There we go. Now. Oh. Oh, wait a minute. There was this. Oh, this is this thing. Oh man, I'm getting confused. I don't know if I'm really tired or just confused. Okay, yeah, we do want to get moving down. Now, I think you're relatively safe, so come down here. I want to experiment with the possibility of an invasion against these guys. No, create a commando unit. Okay, new commando force has been recruited and placed in the build queue for production and training. Okay, who dares wins. Well, yeah, let's just move it to the top. It'll bump some of the fighters out of the production queue. Well, current active production, but that's fine. Jungle unit. Now, I think we're either stopping or starting to stop. Yeah. That is jungle unit training, is it not? Yeah. So 40, that's pretty good. We're going to have some definite fighting in there with those. Good stuff, but... And I will get to that. Midget submarine's cool. Not very effective. I've yet to have a midget submarine sink anything. I've certainly tried. So I don't know if they're any use. They're cool. They did sink stuff historically, both in the British did, in the Pacific, and in the Atlantic. Yes. We're going to lose a lot of money income once we go to war with the Soviet Union. Well, we might as well see if we can sell them some more junk. Okay. While we can. Oh, good. Now, let's drop him here. I want him to get fully organized before I send him out to the carrier. What sort of sea-killing guy do I have left here? Anti-shipping. Hunger. I'm gonna go with a non-sea killer because I'm maybe hoping he'll be a better fighter protection for this stuff. So we'll leave it Foamy, or however you pronounce his name. And here we go. Yeah. Okay. So this and this. I want to give him one of the self-propelled gun units and one of the tank killers. Panzer Abteilungen. So that we got that. Just need a headquarters, which we're still building some. Yeah, I get. I have a third one of these coming. Is that it? Yeah. April 14th. Okay, yeah, that's getting close to our likely. Those are June, July. Lots of air units. Like I said, they don't use up much manpower. We'll get a headquarters for it for sure. Well, April 13th or after is looking like a good date to go. That's part of my quandary for this, is I'm going to have to check weather and other sort of conditions. You know, are we in mud effects or whatnot? But because there's no point, in my opinion, going it 3 days earlier if you can have this and this out ready to go. You know, it would be unorganized dropping it that day. Now, these also here are all going to be all through the April ones here. So all these infantry units would already be out and at the front or nearby or whatever at that time. So those would be very helpful for the go date. got one of these here already. So I'm thinking here, now they've moved in more stuff, but I'm thinking of trying to burst out through here and race up this way or something. Just come up. Not try to occupy here, try to come up here. I just had horrid times in Narva. Come up here. Then come back and swing and get that, but race for Leningrad early. That's what I'm thinking of doing. But I also want to get around these damn marshes and race for Moscow. I really hope that this is historically accurate, that this swamp comes up to here, because this is such a pain in the ass to get around. A massive pain in the ass, and I hate it, hate it, hate it, hate it, hate it. Now, if it's a real world, you know, historical obstacle, I want it there because I want this map to reflect the real world. It still doesn't mean I hate it, but you know, if that's accurate, wonderful, great. If that's just some sort of, we decided to make these province part of the ugly swamp, and you know, maybe they didn't need to be, well, then I'm pissed. But I don't know. Quite honestly, I don't know, and it's just a judgment call, I'm sure, to some degree. And of course, we're going to come down here and race this way to secure down here too. And I'm sort of showing you here, we've got lots and lots of these divisions. These are just armored car units. Yeah. Not that I haven't found myself wanting more armored units in the center, but I found myself wanting more armored units in the north. So it's like instinctually I'm not giving them enough. Not you. You're a cool mountain fighting guy, and I probably should give you a good division, but I very well may. So you can be an okay one, but let's find a non-SS. Good panzer leader for you. Rottinger, maybe. He's a defensive guy. Rayball. Good panzer, but defensive. He's the kind of guy you stick in heavy tank unit and put him somewhere in the front that holds the line. Okay, yeah. You're up here. Yes, I know you're up here, and you're going, yes, we know. We're going to load you on board. We brought up the garrison unit here because we have some of the fortress units. Now, he's going to come back. Is it just here, or was there another? Yeah. Guess not. Okay. So, he's going to come back down to here. Oh, there it is. We're going to pick up these heavy artillery, or these, not heavy artillery, but these. Am I moving? Oh, we're moving both. I didn't want to defend here. I had a heavy artillery unit defending the airbase, yes, but there's no, you know, they can land here, but they're going to die of starvation because they can't fly supplies in, and they're going to die of starvation. They can land here and get supplies, or they can land here. So these are worth defending. Maybe I should have moved that this way, but so I'm going to bring out some of that artillery and around. How are we doing down in Africa? one area of active combat. Oh, we are... See, that's, I don't like that about this, that we don't get notification that combat has started again. Because we're still just invading the same. It's okay. You're still just invading there, but you come down here and bomb here too. Because we're not doing so well. Not that we wouldn't fighter focus. That's... Okay, well, we're going to stop that because we're not America to pump in extra fighter focus points. Not doing strategic bombing. We will want to do some of those eventually. Air launch torpedoes. Help sea attack. That is an important one. That we want to do. Make all that sea attack more useful. Yes, we're being bombed some, but let's check the fighters. How we doing? Fighter command, where are you? Here you are. Okay. You can get rest and repair. You're still just one guy and way down there. Now you're gonna get rest and repair too. And so are you. And so are you. Probably be better for me to put some of them in bigger stacks. I might just do that sometime soon. Okay, that's pretty good, but let's... I haven't bombed too much. They've tried to come in here, but sometimes they can be on their way and never make it organized. Okay, you're mobilizing your army. Well, isn't that special? This is just what I wanted to have happen before the war started. Get all these guys to the Soviet front. And all these guys here that are coming around here. And they're coming around and they're probably all going to end up guarding the very, very, very deadly Swiss front. Yes, I'm being sarcastic. Somewhere they're bombing me. You organized up enough yet? Yes, let's send you out here. Okay, well, this both helps improve the self-artillery brigades that we already have, which is quite a few of them. And it allows production of them, which is nice. Medium artillery, let's do that. Oh, we got a bunch more. Well, the headquarters at least, okay. We won here, good. And we're now in much better position here with all that bombing. No order? No, you come here. Okay, yes, you need the headquarters. Well, I'm hitting the wrong... There, that one. That's what we want to do. There we go. Now you're combined arms. I also noticed a couple of other units down here that I'm not trying to turn into some sort of super unit, but let's give them a headquarters so that they can then have combined arms bonuses with everything else. There we go. There we go. Now these guys will be better. They don't have to be some great wondrous unit, but we need the second one here as well. And this, you might want to keep this in mind, and probably should have done it sooner. We'll also now have a real combined arms chance with that. And if this unit, which I think may eventually turn them into the Göring Division, so these may all disappear, well, we can transfer that HQ somewhere else. Okay, interesting. Now, in my opinion, I could be wrong, but in my opinion, the Becker events already cover this, because there are some events that deal with the conversion of French equipment to other things. But, okay. During the fall of France, about 3,000 light tracked armored vehicle carrier and prime movers had been captured by the German Wehrmacht. Most were employed unmodified after an overhaul by the AMX factory. That's a French tank company. They're still in existence, still making France's main battle tanks, under guidance of the German MAN company, as tractors for the 37, 50 millimeter, and ultimately the 75 millimeter and 76.2 millimeter. Those are captured Soviet guns, anti-tank guns. They were also used to tow light and even heavy infantry guns. They were employed mainly in the function of their original primary role of munitions carriers. Some of these had an armored roof fitted above the bin to protect the ammunition loads against overhead shell bursts. Okay, these here, well, this is maybe something different than I'm thinking, because okay, these are not. This isn't covered by the Becker stuff. The Becker stuff is more the tank units. So I was wrong about that. I prejudged and was wrong about that. Okay, so these are French UE tractors. These things here. They were two-man. You see each one of these little domes is where a man sits underneath it. They're each in a separate compartment. You can see this here is sort of the armored front thing that folds forward and you climb into it. This thing comes over his, the back is sort of solid there. This thing comes over his head. And they have the possibility of putting some ammo behind them. And then they also made a tracked trailer for them as well to tow behind them, as well as for ammunition carriers. And that's what they were designed to be, as ammunition carriers. Now, I've seen a lot of photos of these guys converted into other things, including removing sort of one of the manned positions, sort of as it is to some degree, building up an armored superstructure of it, and basically adding a machine gun to it. And so they just become a a tankette or light, a machine gun carrier, just a standard 30 cal type, probably a MG40 or 34 kind of gun, or maybe captured French machine guns. Some of them were done by the Luftwaffe as sort of base security type units. Okay, half-track conversion. Okay, so this is different than what I was thinking. Yes, sometimes I prejudge things. And if I wanted to be smart, I wouldn't talk about it. Ooh, well, those are nice. Okay, you guys head east now. We will, once you get there, I will figure out what divisions will be upgraded from trucks to half-tracks, because half-tracks are expensive. Okay. Denmark Atlantic Wall section. Okay, to the best of my knowledge, the AI is going to be pathetic at invasion, and to the best of my knowledge, there is no scripted, keyword scripted, invasions for Denmark. Like there is no scripted invasions to the best of my knowledge. Things could have changed for Norway, but some level of defense for Denmark would be cool. We can afford the 4,000 money. So so let's do this. You can see here what they've labeled the Copenhagen region, which is basically anywhere where there's a port. Denmark just got fortified with just light fortifications, but we didn't spend that much. Now we're going to lose lots of money once we go into the Soviet Union. Is there somebody out there we can sell supplies to? Does Japan want to buy supplies? They're at war with everybody, so they just get their ships sunk. Bulgaria want to buy supplies? No, they don't hardly have any money. I'm at war with all of my customers. And soon we'll be at war with the Soviets. What is Turkey doesn't have money? You see, you know you're not doing well when you're at war with all of your customers. I guess Germany and the U.S. airlines are the two main groups that war with their... Oh, and cable companies. Cable companies have been at war with their customers since... And let me give my some sort of free market diatribe. These two Americans. Do you like your cable company service? Do you think your cable company service is good? You know why your cable company service is? We'll be there sometime between noon and 5 p.m. during your workday, so you got to take the work off. Or we might not show up at all. You know why that is? Is because they have a contract with your city government to be the exclusive and only supplier for cable services in your area. So they have a monopoly. So if they don't show up, what the hell are you going to do about it? You've got no choice. Now, net neutrality. Net neutrality is the thing that they're pushing. They're pushing net neutrality because they're going to reschedule it back to the earlier status and not make it so much a public utility, because it's a utility. So your internet provider, the people you buy your lines from, they're going to be a highly governmental regulated thing too, and they're going to compete with the cable companies. So the cable companies want net neutrality so that everybody has to play the same, and so you have to get all kinds of regulations. If somebody wants to start a different technology or do that, they have to go through all the regulations. But no, so we have to cut down competition. That's what net neutrality is about. It's not really about Comcast deciding to charge Netflix more money because they're using up so much of the bandwidth. No, that isn't what it's really about. It's about your service providers being your internet service providers being regulated as utilities. And they get to suck like utilities. Like I've heard and read stories. To get a fiber optics, I was watching this thing on YouTube, to get fiber optics, which is what I'm trying to get in my apartment right now, in Australia, cost something like, tell me if I'm wrong, but this was maybe a year ago or something that this video was made. It was like $3,000 to $5,000 a month, something like, or maybe it was just a $1,500 Australian dollars or something like that a month for in an office building. You couldn't get it out in in the city areas, and so they had the office buildings wired, and more than half of the offices in this one building, they can't afford that kind of price to pay for it. So they're just on DSL or ADSL speeds when they've got all the fiber infrastructure wired there is because to my understanding, again, I may be wrong, and feel free to correct me, Australians, if I'm wrong. I do want to learn. I'm giving my viewpoint of what I think is good, but I can have my facts wrong, and please correct me if I do. Is that there's only one basic internet provider for Australia, and it's a sort of a monopoly kind of situation. So they have that tied up. So when it's a monopoly, you can't just go to somebody else. So we have monopolies here in California for telephone, the landlines. We have monopolies for cable, so that you can only go from there. Now, so when I was trying to get my fiber optics, there are several companies that offer fiber optics, but they all use the same set of fiber optic lines. It's just some other sort of resellers or whatever, they will lease the lines and set up some of their co-located servers to deal with it in and amongst the area. But if the main company who owns the wires doesn't run wires to your place, the other company can't come in and attach and run wires, because they don't have the city's permission to do so. They don't have the license from the government to do so. So I'm restricted. So I am having, yes, this is part of my diatribe, and I'm going through all kinds of stuff, and I'm going to get it. I've dug my way into the company, got people's names and phone numbers, and pushing hard and going to get it, because like I say, it's within a block of my home where it is. So it's not like they have to string it very far, but it just didn't get here when they stopped doing it, when it was under Verizon, and when Verizon wanted to move from landline business because it thinks the future is wireless. Wireless still is not giving as good speeds as landlines for proper data streaming, especially in the way I want to do it. Someday wireless may make the great bulk of wire to each house unnecessary, and but even then, the bandwidth and whatever, I'm not a technician, so I know a little bit about this, but I'm not a detailed technician. I think some of the stuff still will need to go over wire things, but then you have the digital satellite stuff. So I don't know exactly. They just may be able to use digital relays around places like LA, and just have a bunch of towers, and all those towers talk to other towers, and then those towers talk to satellite uplinks that put you to the satellites that then talk to the rest of the world. And so yes, the future may be wireless, but it ain't here yet, and it ain't going to be here in the next few years. So there's still a real business going on. But Verizon gave it up and sold out their company to Frontier, which is actually good for me, though Frontier is about ready to go bankrupt. It doesn't mean I would lose connectivity, but just somebody else would buy them out and redo the business model. But because it's so regulated as a utility, you don't have competition. We would still not have we'd still have long distance call fees in the U.S. if they hadn't broken up Ma Bell, the telephone monopoly here in the U.S. many years ago. And yes, all of you people out there screaming for net neutrality and think it's great, and there are some good benefits to it, but all of you that are screaming for it are too young to have experienced the old telephone system that I grew up with. And they came out with exciting new phones. They had different plastic covers on them. Trust me, you don't want to live in a monopoly situation. You want to live in a much more open system. And yes, I'm not an extremist nut job here. You need some levels of regulation so that people don't just randomly put in telephone poles, and people run wires too low and trucks hit them, and they need certain safety regulations. So yes, you need a certain level of safety and control management. I am not arguing against any of that. I'm just arguing that the idea of giving exclusive monopolies is a bad thing. So I have, and right now I'm still using that what had been Frontier to Verizon ADSL connection, which sucks. They won't give me business connection. Oh, a block from my home, an office building, I could get a DSL, which is not ADSL, is asynchronous DSL, meaning down is faster than up. If I could almost, not quite, but I could almost literally run a wire along some of the telephone poles. Almost literally, not quite, but if it was half a block shorter and there sort of wasn't this small park in the way, I could run a wire out of an office building that they would give me a true DSL like I used to have when I had an office, a true DSL higher speed connection. So they have it all wired in their thing. They just got to change the settings, but they won't give it to me as a residency. But within a block of me, they'll give it to an office. Now, renting an office is obviously too expensive to do just for this, and I don't know if I could convince anybody in there to let me charge a thing to them and then run a wire out of the office building. No, they wouldn't let me do that, but it would be that easy. And so I know it's super easy for them to get business DSL to me. And if I was registered as a business, where if my residency was zoned to also be able to be a business, not a store that like people troop in and out, then there's a lot of places that are zoned to be both businesses and homes, and some people will live, have a shop below and live above it or something like that. If I was in that kind of zone thing, like a block from me, they could turn it on so that it was a business thing if I called myself a business. But I'm not zoned for business, so I can't have a business. I don't have a business license to do that because I'm not zoned for it. But because it's a monopoly, they can only give me a home service when it's the same switching thing, and I'm 3, maybe 4 blocks away from a main huge Verizon, now Frontier, switch building. So it's all, so distance does matter from these things. So if you're way out in the middle of nowhere, there's reasons you can't get stuff, or you need a satellite up and down, like if your business account does. But the technology isn't like you got to do something more. You just have to change the settings. But since I'm a residency, because the rule says since I'm a residency, they can only do residency, I can't get a business account. I'd be willing to pay for a standard business account to my home. They won't do it because of their contract and their stuff with the city. Yes, this is my diatribe here, and we're going along for it because I feel like it right now. So I can't do the DSL. I can only do ADSL, and it sucks. And so the fiber that they are hopefully running to me soon, I hope. Maybe by the time this is up, I don't know. They may find another reason they can't get it here. Is a residency kind of thing, yes. Or the cable company. Now, so like I have a Frontier phone. I want to get a Frontier fiber optics instead of my DSL. And because I'm an independently minded person, I have one of the 2 miniature satellite dish companies, Dish, instead of the cable company, and so much better than the cable company, because people now, yes, this is one of the competitors, and one of the reasons is Verizon and now Frontier, because they pioneered it, does give cable-like service across their fiber optics, and this is bothering the phone or the cable companies, because it's now competing with them. This is why they want internet service providers to be regulated, because not so much the guy who runs the wire, because as I said before, a different provider could provide me with a different set of services over the same wire. So you have the company that owns the wire, and then the company that provides the internet service. Now, they can lease that wire out to other people, other companies, to provide a different set of services. But they want Frontier to be a utility in their internet providing element, not just running the wires, but maintaining the infrastructure, but providing the services, so that they can regulate it like they regulate the cable companies. And because it's interfering with their monopolies. This is the problem. But since the U.S. government won't let the last 2, because there's only 2 left that are the small digital dish, not the big huge satellite dish, but the digital dish satellite things that are sort of the standard for the homes. There's 2 of them in the U.S. They tried to one tried to buy the other one out. The government said no, even though they promised to have national rates, meaning the idea is they are obviously competing with the cable companies in places like Los Angeles and San Diego, but out in El Centro there's little or no cable companies, maybe sort of micro ones for small cities, but when you're out in the middle of nowhere, your only choice is satellites. Well, they could theoretically, if there's only one company, keep raising the prices and keep lowering the quality of service for the satellite television. They promised to have the same pricing over everywhere. That wasn't enough. They said anti-monopoly laws, so there has to be two companies, so one company can't buy the other out. And so one of the companies is independently owned, the other one is part of a larger conglomerate, and they can sell up and down service. And there's also, I think, HughesNet, which is just a digital cable company, not for internet service provision, not providing television service. It's a different sort of thing, but you could get the Netflix kind of thing over the digital, or Amazon or whatever, over the digital connections, net connections. So monopolies are a bad thing. And when utilities now, how many companies do you want to run wires to your home to provide electricity? That would be a problem. I agree. And so you have one company owning the wire, but that doesn't mean, if you want to, that somebody else can't. And I don't know the regulations there, but somebody else should be able to open up an electric company here. There should not be a monopoly on that, and they should be able to sell at the rates. And so, meaning that yes, one company for the city of San Diego runs all the wires, just because electricity is electricity, more or less. But if somebody wants to open up a solar plant, a wind plant, or a clean coal plant or something, and then sell electricity on to the other already existing electric companies, you should be able to do that. And that's sort of how I know right now, if you have like solar on your home, and if you're not running any electricity in your home at the moment, like you're away on vacation, the electricity, you sell it back to the electric company, and it rolls back your electrical meter in the opposite direction. So they may end up paying you. Now, normally, solar isn't enough to take over the whole homes. It normally just reduces the amount the home needs, especially here in Southern California. In the summer, it's mostly lots of air conditioning. It might in winter, and because they heat their homes with natural gas mostly. So might do it in winter if there's, because there's normally enough sunlight. So it normally helps with the bill, normally doesn't eliminate it. But if you shut everything down and just sell the power back, it helps. So that's functionally a little power company, but not really. It just takes off your bill normally. But if somebody wants to open that up, that's why monopolies are a bad thing. And that's why when you start calling things utilities and then regulating the hell out of them, not just, again, safety regulations. I'm all for reasonable. Now, what is reasonable, and depends on the industry and everything else. Reasonable safety regulations. I'm all for regulations that are against deceptive advertising, that kind of thing. So you know what you're getting into. You don't say that, hey, this is great for your health and it's really poisonous. You got to, I believe in a certain level of regulations. It's just this over-regulations as a utility is a terrible thing. Okay, that's a political diatribe. I know some of you will disagree. Some of you believe that internet connectivities are right and the government should pay for it. And yes, if I was living in Liechtenstein right here, or wherever it is here, I would probably say yes, let's just have one national company for whatever, satellites or whatever. But if it's Germany, modern day Germany, too much regulation in my opinion. Okay, thanks everybody for watching. Thanks for liking the videos if you're still with us here. Thanks so much. And of course, please post questions, comments, suggestions. And if you want to dispute me, yeah, you can be nonsensical. Hey, I like my whatever. That would be nonsensical. Tell me why I'm wrong about utilities and overregulation. And you might be right, particularly on, like I say, electricity, because we don't need 30 sets of wires running out around a city and that kind of thing. But, you know, please tell me why I'm wrong in some of these other things like net neutrality and other situations. So if you think I'm wrong, and why, because I'd like to learn why, at least why you think so, and maybe it'll change my mind or change somebody else's mind, maybe. But so thanks so much, and of course, see you next time for more Hearts of Iron.